Hey guys, I got a cough drop, so I apologize beforehand if you hear me, crunching around on it. As I was saying, Neptune is going to enter into Aries on January 2026. And that's next week, of course, and it's going to be a 14-year because it's an outer planet, so it's going to be a longer transit. And it's exciting, as I was talking about in my previous videos, because this is going to be a series. um, there's a bunch of positive things that we can look forward to, and the next thing is that we'll be integrating with Saturn. So Saturn will enter into Aries next month in February, and it's going to create a rare conjunction that blends vision, because representing Neptune, with responsibility, which represents Saturn. Idealism must now be structured and sustainable. So there's not going to be any half measures, or, we got to go in all the way and make sure it sticks. This transit calls for bold, grounded action in alignment with inner truth, marking the state of a new cycle where dreams are lived, not just dreamed. So we need to be ready for that, and we need to be journaling. We need to be making plans for ourselves and for our lives and for our communities and our countries, because we need to step up. We need to start researching history, how things were done historically, because some of those things are hidden from us. But I think if we are able to come together and focus on what we have in common, not on our differences, then we can make some positive changes in everyone's lives, because what's reflected in the micro, your personal life, will be reflected in the macro, which will be, community, state, country, and world. So, and then I found this really great website. It's called Astro Butterfly. And I wanted to tell you guys, just read what it has. Then I'll give a link, because it's very informative, and I love good websites. And I like the little logo and the name. That's just is so pretty. It's right up my alley. Anyways, so it says the astrology of Neptune and Aries, which will be from 2026 this year through 2039, which that's quite a ways into the future, brings a new chapter. Yay! Yay! On January 26, 2026, that's significant, because numerology and synchronicity, history will be made. History is being made. Neptune enters Aries. Neptune's shift into a new sign marks the beginning of an epic chapter in our lives. So, Neptune stays about 14 years in a sign. So that way we only get to experience a few Neptune ingresses during a lifespan. So this is pretty big. That's why I wanted to make a video, because I needed to, tell you guys and remind you to get ready. Not only does Neptune change signs, it will move from Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, to enter Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. So, that's pretty significant. 0 degrees Aries is a very potent and important point in the zodiac, as it marks the beginning of everything. 0 degrees of Aries is arguably the most important of all 360 degrees. For Neptune, it marks the beginning of a new 165-year cycle around the sun. And then she has a really, I'm assuming it's a she, it could be a he, but they have a really pretty digital picture here of the huge sun in the ocean. Neptune is one of the 3 outer planets, like I was saying. The other ones are Uranus and Pluto. So Pluto is Scorpio's planet, along with Mars. And Neptune is Pisces. So it was in its home planet for, quite a while. My dad was a Pisces. When outer planets change signs, we are talking about big fundamental shifts. When we look out at outer planetary transits, we look at collective turning points that impact all of the aspects of our lives. So it's going to touch upon every aspect. And it's going to take courage to meet these changes, which I don't like change. You would think that I would be okay with it, being a Scorpio and a Virgo moon, but I usually associate it with negative because it's been like a negative trigger for me. Every time something big changes in my life, it's been like a negative thing, like consequences. Because change can be positive and exciting, but anytime it happens to me, it's like, oh no. No. So it's kind of scary for me anyways. So they go on to say, when we look at outer planetary transits, we look at collective turning points that impact all of the aspects of our lives. So in this context, Pluto is not just quote-unquote power. Neptune is not just quote-unquote spirituality. Outer planets, movements through signs represent generational trends that affect pretty much every aspect of our life, which I was just saying. And then they said it in the article. Of course, the outer planets will express the themes of the sign that it's in its own archetypical way. So, with Neptune and Pisces, we've seen an emphasis on Piscean themes like interconnectivity, spiritual unity, the idea that we are all one, a vast, boundless melting pot of dreams, ideals, and illusions. And how does this Piscean emphasis show up in a Neptune sort of way? By dissolving borders. So that's what we've been seeing a lot with the last, Democratic presidencies. They've allowed a lot of people to just come in, and that's kind of too extreme for me. I like having new people. It's just we need to make sure that people that have a criminal record back in their old country aren't coming in, because you never know what they're going to do. So that's going to be ending, as we've been seeing lately already. But it's like going from one extreme to another. It's too much. The laws are being broken. People are being hurt. Humans need dignity and respect, no matter what. Even if they are doing something illegal, doesn't matter. They need to have dignity and respect at all times. So, they go on to say, if we were to think of one important theme that aligned with Neptune's stay in Pisces in the past 14 years, that theme would be globalization. Pisces is the ocean, limitless, boundless, no borders. So Neptune and Pisces amplified the feeling of no boundaries. Yeah. It's so neat how everything lines up with astrology. It's crazy. Here are the key themes that emerged during Neptune's transit through Pisces. Neptune dissolved borders. We saw more emphasis on acceptance, open borders, increased migration, and multicultural integration. The internet, social media, and e-commerce exploded, creating a borderless digital world where anyone could connect, share, and sell globally, which I liked. As an artist, I love that. And now it's getting really difficult for us small business owners to sell our products because of you know who. So hopefully this is going to be, I don't know. The rise of remote work, the gig economy, and digital nomadism lead to breaking traditional job structures and national work identities. people from different countries began consuming the same content and blurring cultural lines. So that's a big one. I'm going to stop here and then I'll continue on in the next video.